The story starts in a big city is called Harai. Harai is a beautiful place, full of wonder, invention, and peace. People here are obsessed with new technology, always chasing the next invention that'll make life easier and safer, especially for their children. At the heart of this technological paradise are two brilliant scientists, Professor Tinker and Dr. Grafter. Tinker is a genius when it comes to electronics and mechanics. Everything he builds is based on machines and circuits. On the other hand, Grafter is more of a bioengineer. He combines animals and plants to create living things. Every year, the city holds a grand invention competition, and both Tinker and Grafter go head-to-head to show off their creations. But this year, Grafter stepped up his game. Instead of just enhancing living creatures, he created an entirely new species. He took plant DNA and merged it with animals. The result? A creature named Huxley. Huxley looked mostly human, except his skin was purple, and he had 2 hearts that gave him twice the energy and strength of a normal human. Still, despite all that power, he had to be raised just like any other kid. Tinker, meanwhile, built something totally different, a robot named Tybalt. Tybalt was made of solid iron and had the body of a giant, but surprisingly, he was a soft-hearted homebody who loved doing house chores. Sadly, things didn't go well. Tybalt began to malfunction. People got scared, and Tinker, heartbroken and burned by the experience, asked security to take Tybalt away. He told them to do whatever they wanted with the robot. Meanwhile, Grafter won the competition and proudly held up the winner's trophy. But after that day, life in Harai started to change. The people of the city lived comfortably, mostly because of the Sky Castle, a mysterious floating structure that housed a group of wise rulers known as the Ancients. These Ancients watched over everyone and kept the city safe. Then one day, a terrible virus called the Avirus began spreading across Harai. It was unlike anything doctors had ever seen. It affected animals and humans in strange ways. Some got sick, others lost limbs, and many died painful deaths. No one knew where it came from, and no one could cure it. So the people turned to their 2 famous scientists for help. Tinker created mechanical body parts to help those who lost limbs. Meanwhile, Grafter went a different route. He replaced human limbs with parts from animals, depending on what suited the person best. This divided the city. Those who followed Tinker became known as the technocrats, while Grafter's followers called themselves the spirits. Even with both scientists working hard, the virus didn't stop. It continued spreading, and eventually, it claimed the life of Tinker's wife. He was devastated. Completely alone, he decided to build a child using his machines. Day and night, he worked, using tiny gears and parts from watches to create something extraordinary. He built a little girl named Tesla, the daughter of the watch. Tesla wasn't like other robots. She had a real brain to think and a mechanical heart that could feel. But instead of showing her off to the world, Tinker kept her hidden and spent years teaching her everything he knew. He didn't want a repeat of what happened with Tybalt. Finally, when Tesla was ready, Tinker announced a public reveal. At the same time, Huxley had grown up into a curious young man. He was always exploring Grafter's house, causing mischief. The servants asked him to wear a suit because a very important guest was visiting, Admiral Wells. Huxley hated the suit. He hated Admiral Wells even more. But she wasn't someone to be ignored. Admiral Wells had been chosen by the Ancients to rule Harai. She arrived in a giant flying ship, always wearing a scary mask to protect herself from infection. Her robotic army, the Korvax, followed her everywhere. Grafter got extremely nervous when she showed up. He presented all his new work, including a giant ape-like creature named Mart and a healing cave he had built. But Admiral Wells wasn't impressed. She pointed out that Tinker had a smart assistant like Tybalt and had even built an entire army of robots. Grafter, on the other hand, hadn't created anything new in years. Trying to prove his worth, Grafter introduced Huxley. He explained that Huxley had natural immunity to the virus and, with enough resources, he could replicate that immunity in humans. But Admiral Wells was running out of patience. She warned Grafter that if he didn't impress her on her next visit, the Ancients would cut ties with him. Now, Grafter angrily scolded Huxley, blaming him for looking unpresentable. He told Huxley that he was supposed to be the receiver of souls, and he needed to act like more than just a monster. Meanwhile, Tinker was getting ready for Tesla's big reveal. Tesla was full of excitement. She had never seen the outside world before. She was amazed by the tiny flowers and little suns pushing through the city's concrete. Tinker wasn't impressed. He didn't like plants. He told Tesla to focus on her job. He carefully checked every part of her body, making sure she'd wow the audience. Tesla had such sharp eyesight, she could see germs floating in the air. That night, many important people gathered at Tinker's palace, including Admiral Wells. Even Huxley snuck in, pretending to be a guard just so he could see the event. He met Tesla there and started distracting her with funny stories. Tesla loved his playful attitude and got curious about the plants he mentioned. Huxley told her about the largest tree in the city, and she became excited. They agreed to go see it together. Right then, Tinker began the big presentation. He told everyone about Tesla, his daughter, the clockwork miracle, the future of technology. But when he opened the reveal box, it was empty. Tesla was gone. Tinker panicked. He started searching for her, only to find her talking to Huxley. Tinker thought the monster was kidnapping her and immediately ordered the Korvax to arrest him. To everyone's surprise, Huxley fought back and easily escaped. He was fast and strong. Tinker pulled Tesla aside and warned her to stay away from the spirits. But Tesla didn't listen. Later that night, she quietly snuck out. For the first time, Tesla walked freely under the open sky. She loved the feeling of freedom. She ran to the giant tree to meet Huxley. He was shocked to see her again. He had assumed a robot girl like her would never want to hang out with someone like him. But she did. He helped her climb the tree, and from up there, they could see the entire city. They saw how it was divided between technocrats and spirits. Tesla wanted to return the favor. She covered Huxley's eyes with her hands and let him see through her robot vision. She zoomed in, showing him microscopic details of the world. But what Huxley saw terrified him. Tiny germs floating through the city. And they were all coming from one place, the Sky Castle where the ancients lived. Tesla wanted to go warn everyone, but Huxley had a different plan. He said they needed to get to the Sky Castle themselves and find the truth. He knew that Admiral Wells had a base in the middle of the sea. If they could get there, they might steal a flying ship and reach the castle. Tesla agreed. The two of them set off for the sea. On the way, a group of bullies harassed Tesla. Huxley lost control and fought them, nearly hurting them badly before Tesla stopped him. Then, they found a small boat and used it to reach Admiral Wells' base. They tried sneaking in through the garbage chute, thinking it wouldn't be guarded. But the Korvax were smarter than they expected. It was guarded just like the main gate. They were caught and taken inside. Huxley was dragged away to a secret room, while Tesla was taken straight to Admiral Wells. Tesla immediately started talking about the strange activity in the Sky Castle, but Admiral Wells cut her off. She said the castle was forbidden. No one was allowed to question the ancients. Then she ordered her guards to lock Tesla up and told them to summon Tinker. When Tinker arrived, he was relieved to see Tesla safe. He thanked Admiral Wells for saving his daughter, but he also said he'd like to take her home now. Admiral Wells shook her head. She told him to wait, because Tesla had been corrupted by Huxley's influence. Her purity had been compromised, and in order to fix her, they would need to erase her memories, everything including the time spent with Huxley. Tinker was stunned. He couldn't allow that. Tesla wasn't just a machine to him, she was his daughter. The memories they shared meant everything to him. Wiping her mind would be like erasing her soul. But Admiral Wells didn't care. She had already made another cruel decision. Huxley would be executed. And if Tinker dared to defy her or reveal any secrets, she'd make sure Tesla was executed too. Tinker's hands were tied. He was furious but powerless. The base was swarming with Korvax. He regretted building that army for her. Now she was using it against him. But Tinker knew he couldn't fight her directly. He had to play smart. So, pretending to accept her orders, he asked for permission to leave. But instead of heading to the gate, he turned and rushed to the cage where Huxley was being held. He opened it quickly. "Huxley," he said, "you have to save Tesla. I'll head to the control room and try to override the Korvax. You go get her." Just as they split up, Tesla had already broken out of her room. She ran through the halls and bumped straight into Huxley. Without wasting a second, they ran together toward the hangar to find a flying ship. But it wasn't going to be easy. The Korvax spotted them and began closing in from all directions. Chaos erupted in the base. Meanwhile, Admiral Wells tried to flee in her ship, but Tinker had already locked down the base. Tesla and Huxley climbed a rope to reach a flying ship, but the rope started to snap. At the last second, Tinker helped them from below, making sure they reached safety. Now aboard the ship, Huxley asked Tesla to power it up while he worked out a plan to defeat the Korvax. That's when their sea monster ally, the mermaid, showed up. He saw what was happening and, thinking fast, tossed a bunch of special berries that the Korvax loved. The robots swarmed the berries, and the mermaid launched a full attack. With the Korvax distracted, Huxley hopped onto the ship with Tesla, and they took off. But Admiral Wells wasn't done yet. She managed to power up her own ship and gave chase. Realizing they couldn't outrun her, Tesla made a bold move. She dove their ship straight into the ocean. Admiral Wells followed them underwater, but now they had another problem. They had to stay completely silent, because there was a massive sea monster sleeping nearby. One wrong move and they'd all be eaten. Unfortunately, the base's sinking caused a loud rumble. The sea monster woke up, and chaos followed. Tesla hit the throttle, trying to escape, but Wells kept ramming into her ship, damaging the protective shield. The sea monster attacked both ships. Tesla and Huxley barely made it out alive. Wells wasn't so lucky. Her ship was hit and sank beneath the waves. Exhausted and damaged, Tesla and Huxley landed on a nearby island. They began fixing the ship with parts Tesla had on board. Thankfully, her father had taught her well. She was more than capable. But there was still a cloud of fear above them. Tinker had always feared Admiral Wells and the Ancients. Huxley didn't want to live like that anymore. He dreamed of building a better world. And Tesla? She promised to help him do it. Meanwhile, Grafter waited anxiously for Huxley to return home. But when he heard a loud crash outside, he rushed out, only to find Tinker standing there. They didn't like each other. But now they had to work together, for their children. Grafter hesitated, but for Huxley's sake he agreed. Back on the island, Tesla and Huxley finally finished the repairs. They took off again, this time heading straight for the Sky Castle. Strangely, there were no guards. The castle was quiet, empty, like it had been abandoned for years. Tesla was cautious. "It's a trap," she whispered, but Huxley, being his usual carefree self, started running and jumping through the halls. Eventually, they reached the throne room, and there she was, Admiral Wells, sitting calmly on the throne. Tesla froze. She didn't trust her. But Huxley walked up boldly and confronted her. He accused her of murdering the Ancients to steal their power. Wells didn't deny it, but the truth she shared was even more shocking. When the plague broke out, she rushed to the Sky Castle for answers. But the Ancients were gone. They had abandoned the city. Wells hid the truth, afraid it would cause mass panic. She took responsibility and did her best to protect everyone. Huxley understood. But there was a bigger problem. The spores causing the plague were being generated inside the Sky Castle. The place had to be destroyed. Wells refused. "This castle is a symbol of hope," she said. "We can't destroy it." Huxley had no choice. He grabbed a broken sword to fight her. She was just a human, but a skilled one. The fight was intense. Tesla couldn't take it anymore. She cut a chandelier loose and dropped it on Wells, giving Huxley the chance to escape. But before they could get away, the Korvax returned. Tesla had another idea. Spores from the plague, known as the Kapha, were leaking from a crack. She followed the trail, which led to the heart of the castle. There, they found the real source, and standing guard was Tybalt. Wells showed up again, shocked to see him. Tybalt looked different, bigger, darker. He said he no longer served anyone. He had created the machine that released the spores. He had learned everything from both Tinker and Grafter, then built something no human could understand. He was the one who killed the Ancients. Now, he wanted to rule Harai himself. Wells snapped. She fought him with everything she had. Meanwhile, Tesla and Huxley ran to the engine room. But the heat was unbearable. Huxley told Tesla to stay back. He'd handle it. Back at the bridge, Tybalt defeated Wells and threw her off. Then he stormed toward the engine room, but Huxley was waiting for him. They fought. Tybalt unleashed his robotic army. Huxley fought bravely. Tybalt finally reached Tesla. He didn't attack her. Instead, he offered her a deal. He wanted her to join him, spread his technology across the world. Together, they would lead a new industrial age. He promised to erase her memory and train her to be just like him. Huxley was almost defeated. But just then, Tinker and Grafter arrived to save him. The Korvacs showed up again, but this time Wells, still alive, gave them new orders to protect the kids. Tesla tried reasoning with Tybalt. She told him he didn't need to be evil, he just wanted to be seen. She promised to ask Tinker to fix him, to give him a new life. But Tybalt didn't want that. Tesla made her choice. She uncovered the explosive engine's core. A huge explosion rocked the castle. Tybalt was destroyed. Tesla was critically injured. Huxley and the others found her buried in the wreckage. Her gears were still running, but her heart, her core, was shattered. Without a replacement, she'd be gone forever. Tinker realized he could use a real heart, but where would they get one? Huxley stepped forward. He had 2 hearts. He gave one to Tesla. Grafter and Tinker performed the operation. It worked. Tesla came back to life. Huxley was weaker now, but he didn't care. Tesla was alive, and that's all that mattered. They embraced each other, watching the sky castle fall. The spores were destroyed. In the weeks that followed, the air cleared. The virus faded. Life returned to Harai. The great tree grew new leaves. Technocrats and spirits united. Peace returned. And Huxley? He said there's no better place to meet Tesla than under that tree. There, they sat side by side, staring at the sky. No one could stop them from writing their own, beautiful love story. And that's how the story ends. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories like this.